It started as a stupid urban legend. One of those creepy stories you hear on Reddit or from a friend of a friend, meant to freak you out for no reason. If you ever hear your name, but no one is there, don't respond. Because if you do, it will know you're listening. I laughed the first time I heard it. A girl in my night class had been scrolling on her phone and said, "Hey, did you guys hear about this?" We were in the campus library, late cramming for exams. The overhead lights buzzed, and outside, the streets were empty. The kind of setting that makes anything feel eerie. Apparently, people have been hearing their names whispered when they're alone. And if you answer, it gets worse. It keeps calling for you. Closer and closer. My friend Jason scoffed. "Dude, it's just a TikTok story." "Still creepy," she muttered, putting her phone away. I rolled my eyes and went back to my notes. I didn't believe in any of it. I should have. That night, I got home around midnight. I threw my bag onto the couch, kicked my shoes off, and collapsed in front of the TV. Typical night. An hour later, I was half asleep, scrolling on my phone, when I heard it. A whisper. My name. Right behind me. I froze. The room was silent. I turned my head, nothing. The apartment was empty. My door was locked. The windows were shut. It must have been in my head. Yeah, just my imagination. I shook it off and got up, rubbing the chill from my arms. But the air felt wrong. It was colder now, like a draft that crept in through invisible cracks. I could see my breath. I stared at the blank TV screen. For a second, just a split second, I thought I saw something reflected in the black glass. A shadow, standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing. I forced a laugh, shaking my head. It was the story from earlier. That was all. A dumb urban legend making me hear things. I turned off the lights and went to bed. And for a while I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong, because the next night it happened again. It happened again the next night. This time it was closer. I had just gotten home from work exhausted. My apartment was dark, quiet, just how I liked it. I threw my jacket over a chair, grabbed a soda from the fridge, and flopped onto the couch. Then, a whisper. Soft. Too soft. Right behind me. My name. Ethan. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs. I turned my head slowly, nothing. Just my empty apartment. The TV was off. The windows were shut. The front door was locked. But I felt it. The air was heavy, like I had walked into a room someone had just left. And the temperature, it had dropped again. I could see my breath. I swallowed hard, shaking my head. No, this wasn't real. It was stress, lack of sleep, something. I grabbed my phone, flipped to my voice memos, and hit record. "Okay," I whispered to myself, forcing a shaky laugh. "You're officially losing it." I let the recording run for a few seconds, then played it back. The sound of my own breathing filled the speaker. Then, a second voice, whispering my name, "Ethan." I dropped my phone. My skin prickled, every nerve screaming to run. I looked around the room, expecting what? A person? A hidden speaker? But I was alone. And the whisper on the recording, it wasn't mine. It was too low, too thin, and it sounded closer than it should have, like it had been right next to the microphone. I grabbed my phone with shaky hands, deleted the recording, and told myself to forget about it. But deep down, I knew something was in my apartment, and it wanted me to answer. The third night was the worst. I woke up at 3:12 a.m., my body rigid, my skin ice cold. I couldn't move. Sleep paralysis. I had experienced it a couple of times before, but this felt different. I could feel the weight of my blankets, the stillness of the room. But something wasn't right. The air was wrong. Heavy. Dense. Like something was in the room with me. Then the bed shifted. Just a little. Like something had just sat down near my feet. And then the whisper, right next to my ear. Not a distant sound. Not a hallucination. But a voice. Real. Breathing. Waiting. "I know you can hear me." My lips moved. I almost answered. I almost whispered back. But at the last second, I clamped my mouth shut. The whisper lingered. Waiting. Then, the weight on the bed lifted. The air shifted. The room felt normal again. Like whatever had been there had just left. But I knew the truth. It wasn't gone. It was waiting. It wanted me to speak first. Because once I did, I would never stop hearing it. I barely slept after that night. Every sound made my skin crawl. Every shadow in the corners of my apartment felt wrong. I tried to tell myself it was all in my head, that it was just stress, exhaustion, sleep paralysis, hallucinations. But I knew better. I knew because the whispers weren't stopping. They were getting closer. The next day, I started looking for answers. I went online, digging through forums, searching for stories, anything about people hearing their own names whispered when they were alone. Most posts were harmless, stories of people freaking themselves out. But then I found something else, a small thread on an obscure forum. If you hear your name, never answer. The thread was old, over a decade, but the comments sent a cold wave of fear through me. I heard it once. Now I hear it all the time. It doesn't stop. It just waits. The ones who answered, they disappeared. But before they did, they changed. One comment stood out from the rest. A final warning. If it starts using voices you recognize, it's already inside. That night, it did. I was brushing my teeth when I heard it. Not a whisper this time. A voice. Clear. Familiar. My mother's voice. Ethan? Are you there? I stiffened. The apartment was empty. My phone was in the other room. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, heart pounding. It wasn't her. I knew it wasn't her. But my throat went dry. And before I could stop myself, I whispered back, "Mom!" Silence. A deep, crushing silence. Then, laughter. Not my mother's. Not human. Something else. Something that had been waiting for this moment. The lights flickered violently. The air grew thick, suffocating. And then, right behind me, a voice. I already told you. I couldn't breathe. I'm you. The mirror shattered, and the darkness swallowed me whole. I don't remember falling. 1 second, the mirror shattered. The next, everything was black. No words. No ceiling. No sound. Just a cold, endless void. I tried to move, but I wasn't sure if I had a body anymore. Then, a whisper. Not behind me. Not beside me. Inside me. You shouldn't have answered. I opened my eyes. I was standing in my apartment again. The bathroom mirror was perfectly intact. No cracks. No shattered glass. Had I imagined it? Had I blacked out? I took a shaky breath, stepping backward. And then I saw it. My reflection. It wasn't moving. I raised my hand. It didn't follow. I blinked. It didn't blink back. Then, slowly, its mouth stretched into a grin. A wrong, too wide grin. My voice echoed in the room. But I wasn't speaking. You already answered. I stumbled back, heart hammering. The air was thick, suffocating wrong. I turned, and I wasn't alone anymore. They stood in the dark corners of my apartment. Dozens of them. Figures with my face. My height. My voice. But not me. Their eyes were hollow. Black. Their smiles too wide. And they all tilted their heads in perfect unison. The apartment around me shuddered, warping like something was pulling reality apart at the seams. Then, my phone rang. I gasped, my body jerking toward the sound. The screen glowed in the darkness. A single word on the caller ID. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I shouldn't have. I knew I shouldn't have. But I did. I pressed the phone to my ear. Hello. A pause. Then my mother's voice. Soft. Hesitant. Sweetheart, are you okay? You sound different. I opened my mouth to answer, but the voice that came out wasn't mine. It was the whisper. Low. Inhuman. Grinning. I told you. My mouth moved on its own. I'm you now. The phone clicked off, and the darkness swallowed me whole. I clamped my mouth shut, heart hammering against my ribs. The voice that had come out of me wasn't mine. It was wrong. An echo, a distortion, something wearing my voice like a mask. My phone slipped from my fingers, hitting the bathroom floor with a hollow thud. From the speaker, my mother's voice crackled again. Sweetheart, are you there? I wanted to answer. I tried to answer, but I couldn't, because I wasn't sure if the next voice that came out of my mouth would be mine, or its. I turned back to the mirror, pulse racing. My reflection stared at me, expressionless, too still. Then it tilted its head. I didn't. The breath caught in my throat. Slowly, its mouth stretched into a grin too wide for my face. The lights flickered. The air in the room grew heavy, thick, and then it spoke. You let me in. The words slid through the air, crawling over my skin like spiders. Its mouth moved, but mine didn't. It took a step forward, and for the first time, I understood. I had answered it, and now it was taking my place. The mirror shattered. Glass exploded outward, but I felt nothing, because in that moment, I wasn't in my bathroom anymore. I was inside the mirror. I turned, hands slamming against the cold, smooth surface. On the other side, standing in my bathroom, was it? Where in my body? Lifting my phone, answering my mother's call. I screamed, pounding my fists against the glass. But no sound came out. The last thing I saw before the world went dark was myself grinning back at me. The next day, everything was normal. The sun rose. The city woke up. In a quiet apartment, a phone buzzed with a new message. A friend checking in. "Hey man, you good? You seemed weird last night." A reply came seconds later. "Yeah, I'm good." Smiley face. The person holding the phone smiled, but in the dark, shattered glass of a bathroom mirror, something else watched, waiting, trapped, and whispering.